In this video, I wanted to see if I could beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using Ash's Kanto team. For this run, I'll be catching and using Pokemon Ash used in his first journey through Kanto. With such a small selection of mostly unevolved Pokemon then, I'm going to need to take full advantage of every single one of them if I want any chance of beating this hardcore Nuzlocke. That's because under my hardcore Nuzlocke rule set, if a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead and must be released. I can also only catch the first eligible Ash encounter per area. The rest of the rules for this run can be seen on screen now and in the description. With the rules out the way, let's go see if Ash's team can beat a hardcore Nuzlocke. Oh, and remember to leave a like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe for more content in the future. So we start this run by picking our starter, and while I am on time to pick what Pokemon I want here, unlike Ash, there's only one real choice. Welcome aboard, OP. I really hope you don't electrocute me. Obviously, my Pikachu isn't as broken as Ash's, meaning if we want to get past our first challenge, we're going to need to pick up some more friends. Firstly, on Route 1, we find ourselves a Bulbasaur. Defender is going to be really helpful with the first couple of gyms, but annoyingly, Ash never evolves his Bulbasaur, meaning I'm not going to ever be able to evolve Defender during this run. Thankfully, our next encounter on Route 2 is something I can actually evolve, a Caterpie I named Tears. Once we've caught Tears, he can immediately evolve into Butterfree, who will become an excellent support Pokemon. I can then make a quick detour to Route 22 to find another Kanto starter, this time a Charmander I name Overkill. Charmander is one of the few Pokemon I can fully evolve, so he's going to be vital going forward. Also, if I didn't catch him here, he would have sat on that rock forever. Damien is a right bastard. Anyway, that just leaves me one last encounter before our first gym, a Squirtle I find in Viridian Forest. As a child, Ash's Squirtle was always one of my favourite members of his team, so I'm hoping his squad can live up to my high expectations. With our team filled out then, we can now tackle our first gym battle of the run. Now of course, Ash infamously uses the sprinkler system to take down Brock, but I don't have to resort to such underhanded tactics. Defender is able to easily one-shot both of Brock's Pokemon. Nice and easy first gym badge. Maybe if Brock had taken off his shirt, that might have been slightly challenging. Moving on from Brock's sexy abs then, we're able to quickly make our way through Mount Moon and then evolve one member of our team, Overkill the Charmander, into a Charmeleon. With that, we're already at our next gym challenge, Misty the Water-type trainer. Now Misty isn't going to be a complete pushover like Brock, because Starmie is actually super scary for my unevolved Pokemon. With a bit of bad luck then, this could turn into a bloodbath, so fingers crossed this goes well. Misty starts with the smaller of her starfish, while I start with Tears. Tears is immediately able to outspeed the Staryu and land a sleep powder, putting the water Pokemon to sleep. With Staryu asleep, Tears is able to land confusions and very nearly KO the Staryu without taking a single hit. Unfortunately, a potion means the Staryu is able to survive just long enough to wake up and land a super hard critical hit water pulse. Tears is then able to finish off the Staryu with one more confusion, but that's really frustrating to get so close to KOing without taking a single hit to get crit on the final turn. Well, now I've got the bigger starfish to deal with, so let's hope this isn't too difficult. I decide to take a risk with Tears to hopefully put the Starmie to sleep, so I stay in and get super lucky as Tears survives a hard water pulse, and I misclicked, meaning I only get off a weak confusion. Well that's a fuck up and a half. I now have no choice but to switch Defender in, and he takes a really hard Swift on the switch. A second Swift brings Defender down to only 14 HP, but thankfully he lands a Leech Seed, which should keep him in the fight. Defender then has to take another stupidly strong Swift, but he survives the hit and now is in range where his ability Overgrow activates, meaning he only has to land one Razor Leaf for the KO. That's our second gym taken down. Honestly, that was very close to going very wrong, but our luck held up long enough to take the win. After battling our way through the SS Anne, it's time for Surge and his electric types. Now this fight shouldn't be difficult, but Double Team has caused me problems in the past. Surge starts off with Voltorb and I start off with Overkill. A single dig is enough for an easy KO. Second is Pikachu, who goes down the same way. That just leaves Raichu, and here's where the problems start. I go through a dig, which does connect and get off really good damage, but it allows the Sparky Rat to set up two double teams. I really don't want Raichu to set up too many more of those, so I switch into Defender on a Thunder Shock. If I can land a Leech Seed here, here, I will be safe from double teams, so I start trying to land the attack and miss over and over again. Right, Defender is now low enough to where if he misses one more time, I'm going to be in real trouble, so I hope and pray this works as Raichu lands a quick attack, leaving Defender on 3 HP and Leech Seed connects. Thank God. Defender really coming in clutch through all of these gym fights so far. With Raichu seeded, it doesn't matter if I can't hit it anymore because I just have to stall long enough and eventually the Raichu goes down. That was another gym fight that could easily have gone wrong, but we've won and earned our 3rd gym badge. It's then a long walk to our next gym battle in Celadon City, but thankfully once we make it through Rock Tunnel, I'm rewarded with another encounter. On Route 16, I can catch a powerful normal type. No, unfortunately not Snorlax, because Ash only catches his Snorlax on the Orange Islands, not in Kanto. The normal type I'm talking about, of course, is Raticate. When did Ash catch a Raticate, you may ask? Well, technically he never caught one, but he did own one for about half an episode when he traded Butterfree away. He did very quickly trade the Raticate back, but I'm still counting it as an encounter. Welcome aboard, Trade. With Trade caught, I'm now ready to challenge our next gym leader, Erica. Now I could sit here and pretend that Erica is in any way threatening, but if you know anything about this gym fight, you know that it's a complete joke. Tears is easily able to KO the Victory Bell with Psybeams, and then Overkill is able to one-shot the Tangela with a single Ember. Vileplume does take a couple of attacks, but is only able to spam weak acids, meaning Overkill is easily able to KO. Nice easy gym fight, that fight is never really a problem. With Erica taken down, Kanto really opens up to us, and our level cap jumps massively to 43. This means I'm able to evolve Overkill into Charizard, which means I finally have a decently strong Pokemon on my team. To reach the rest of Kanto, I do have to deal with Giovanni, but this proves to be really straightforward, as Squad is able to KO his first 2 Pokemon with a single water gun each, and then Overkill is able to KO with 2 flamethrowers. Easy. Once we've rescued Mr. Pokemon and gotten the Pokeflute, we're now free to explore most of Kanto, and that means finally we can catch some more encounters. Firstly, on our way to Fuchsia City, on Route 15, I'm able to find and catch a Pidgeotto I name Loyal. You might be questioning why I waited so long to catch a Pidgey, and it's because Ash technically never caught a Pidgey, he only caught a Pidgeot, so under my rule set, Pidgey isn't an eligible encounter, but Pidgeot is. Next, I'm able to head into the Safari Zone, where I catch myself a Tauros I name 30. I find it ironic that the only Pokemon Ash catches multiples of is one of the hardest Pokemon to catch in this game. I wonder if that was intentional. Anyway, one last Pokemon to catch. After grabbing the fishing rod in Fuchsia City, we can backtrack slightly to fish up a Krabby. Now Ash's Krabby was notoriously small, but he proved his worth anyway. I'm hoping my Crab, Tiny, can do the same, as he's not crippled by size, but instead by the physical special split. Because all water moves are special in this game, he really can't take advantage of his high attack stat. I'm still hoping he'll be decent though, especially because he's able to immediately evolve into a Kingler. It's time to put my new team through its paces then by challenging the 5th gym leader of the run, Koga. Koga often isn't super difficult, but I don't really have any direct counters to his tanky Pokemon, so this could be tricky. Koga starts with Coughing, and I start with 30. 30 is able to easily KO the Gas Ball with 2 Horn attacks. Second is Muck, who's not going to go down as easy. 30 immediately misses a Horn attack, and then takes a Toxic. That's put my cow on a timer. Instead of letting Toxic build up though, I decide to immediately switch into Tiny. Annoyingly, on the switch, Muck goes for a Minimize. I'll be honest, forgot he had that, this could get annoying fast. Thankfully, Tiny ain't got time to deal with missing though, because a Mud Shot connects on the following turn, doing massive damage. The Muck just goes for an Acid Armor, raising its defense. Thanks to the defense raise, a second Mud Shot then fails to KO on the following turn, allowing Muck to survive and land a Sludge Bomb. The Sludge Bomb doesn't do a huge amount, but more problematic is the fact that then Koga heals the Muck with a Hyper Potion. I decide to carry on spamming Mud Shots, and Tiny is very nearly able to KO the pile of Toxic Sludge, but annoyingly Koga has a second Hyper Potion. Tiny has now been brought low enough to where I need to switch, so I send in Tears on a really hard sludge that of course poisons. Tears is able to outspeed on the following turn and land a Sleep Powder, but he's not taking another hit, so with Muck asleep I switch into Overkill, and of course the Muck immediately wakes up and lands another sludge. This stupid thing is actually pissing me off at this point. Thankfully Overkill comes through like always, and 3 flamethrowers are enough to finally KO the very irritating Muck. Third is Coughing, who goes down to a single flamethrower. All that leaves the Koga then is Wheezing. Overkill is already kinda low, and I don't want to risk my best Pokemon to a crit, so I switch into 30 on on a Toxic. Obviously, my cow can't be poisoned twice, so that's perfect. 2 horn attacks are then enough to take down the Weezing, winning us our 5th gym badge. Muck decided to be a real arsehole there, but we still made it through with no deaths. Now I could head straight to Sabrina at this point, but instead, now because I have Surf, I decide to head south to Cinnabar Island. In the Pokemon Mansion, I'm expecting to run into my next Pokemon, a Muck. Unfortunately, I do find a slight problem with this plan. I had planned to catch a Muck, not Grimer, because that's what Ash catches in the anime. I didn't think this would be a problem, because I was pretty certain you could find a wild Muck in the Pokemon Mansion. Unfortunately though, it turns out you can only find wild Muck in Leaf Green, not Fire-Red. That means instead I am going to have to slightly break my own rules and catch a Grimer here, but you know, blame Game Freak for making wild Mucks a Leaf Green exclusive for some reason. Anyway, with Gringy acquired, I head back to Saffron City where my next gym fight awaits. Obviously Sabrina and her Alakazam are always really threatening, but often the AI during this fight is really dumb, so with a bit of luck we might be able to get through this fight pretty easily. Sabrina starts with Kadabra and I start with 30. 30 is able to KO and one-shot with a horn attack, good start. Second is Mr. Mime, who annoyingly just survives a horn attack and is able to set up a barrier. Barrier means that after Mr. Mime is healed by a hyper potion, 30 isn't able to KO with horn attacks before Sabrina lands a Psybeam that of course immediately confuses my cow. Sabrina then uses her second hyper potion, meaning we're back to square one really. Thankfully my cow is best cow because he then high rolls 2 horn attacks and snaps out of confusion, meaning he's able to finish off the creepy Mime without taking another hit. Third for Sabrina is her overgrown Moth, Venomoth, so I go for a Thrash. Thrash does a huge amount, but just like Mr. Mime, fails to KO by what looks like 1 HP. Annoyingly, 30 is then hit by a Supersonic. My luck continues to not let me down though, because 30 is able to not hurt himself in confusion and finish off the Moth with 1 more attack. That just leaves Alakazam. Unfortunately, because I'm locked into Thrash, I can't switch out here, and instead my cow hurts himself in confusion and then takes a very nasty Psychic. Jesus, well I'm just glad 30 took that hit. I should probably now use Defender as a sacrifice to get Overkill in for 3, but Defender has been such a bro, I decide to take a risk and just send Overkill straight in. On the switch, Overkill takes a nasty Psychic that leaves my Dragon over 50% by 2 HP. That means assuming Alakazam doesn't high roll or crit here, I should be okay. It's a risk I have to take though, because no one else on my team can handle this monster, so I stay in and land a powerful flamethrower, and Overkill survives on 7 HP. Overkill, you complete trooper, you've won us the match because now you can get off one last flamethrower for the victory. Nearly lost my 2 best Pokemon during that fight, and that would have most likely cost us the run, but we've defeated Sabrina, meaning we've won our 6th gym badge. 2 more gyms to go then, but first I remember to evolve Gringy into Muck. I can then also go catch my last encounter for the run, a Primeape on Route 23. Training isn't super amazing, but I won't say no to another fully evolved Pokemon. It's then time to take on Blaine and his Fire types. This fight is usually Super 3, as I'm pretty sure Blaine has dementia, so let's go win our 7th gym badge. Blaine's first 2 Pokemon, Growlithe and Ponyta, are easily dispatched by 1 Surf each, good start. Then the Rapidash comes out, and this thing is slightly more of an issue. Because of Tiny's awful special attack, after taking a strong Fire Blast, he misses the KO with a Surf. This allows Blaine to fully heal his pony, and I assume this will mean Tiny has to take a second Fire Blast, but thankfully Rapidash just misses, meaning Tiny is able to KO without taking a second hit. Then the real threat of Blaine's team comes out is Arcanine. Tiny is once again outsped and is very nearly KO'd by a Fire Blast, but luckily my Crab survives and then is able to land a Surf that almost KOs in retaliation. Okay, well my Crab's alive, but there's no way I'm taking another hit here, so I switch into Gringy in his debut battle. On the switch, Gringy does take another nasty Fire Blast, and then a second on the following turn, which leaves him really low, but Gringy proves his worth by surviving and landing a Sludge Bomb for the KO. With that, we've won a pretty easy 7th gym fight. A couple of crits from Fire Blast there could have been really bad, but as long as you act like you're not going to be crit, you'll never be crit. All that leaves then, before the Pokemon League, is one last gym fight with Giovanni, and I'll be honest, this fight isn't any more difficult difficult than the past 2 fights with Giovanni, Tiny is able to one-shot Rhyhorn and Dugtrio, while also getting off good damage into the Nidoqueen. Overkill is able to finish off the Nidoqueen with a flamethrower. The second Rhyhorn is then taken down by 30, and then 30 is able to end the match by taking down Nidoking with Surfs. Nice easy final gym fight to wrap things up. Now all we've got left is to get through Victory Road and the Pokemon League. Unfortunately, before we can even make it to Victory Road, our rival ambushes us one last time, and I completely underestimate this fight. Pidgeot, Rhyhorn and Growlithe all go down pretty easy, but Execute cripples 30 before he can take the eggs down. This means when Alakazam comes out, I don't have much of an answer for it. I decide on Overkill, and as I switch, Alakazam starts going for Calm Mines. This could get scary fast, especially because Alakazam then starts spamming Calm Mines. Thankfully the AI gets greedy and I'm able to take down the spoon-bending monster before it starts KOing my team. That could have ended really badly. Not out of the woods just yet, because now I've got to deal with my rival's ace, Blastoise, and I don't have anyone on my team that can handle this monster. I decide to send in Tiny because he resists Blastoise's stab attacks. So I switch him in and start going for Stomps. Stomps are doing next to nothing, but I'm hoping Tiny can get off enough damage for someone else to come in and KO this stupid ace, and well, unfortunately, Tiny gets crit and doesn't survive a second bite. That's actually the first death of the run, and it sucks to lose someone so close to the Pokemon League. Rest in peace, Tiny. You're in a better place now. The giant crab bucket in the sky. Thankfully, Gringy is able to come in and take down the Blastoise, meaning we escape with no more deaths. I'm now in the awkward position though, where I'm really going to think about who is going to replace Tiny for our Elite Four team. Speaking of the Elite Four, let's see who we're bringing for this final challenge. First off, we've got OP the Pikachu, who I've EV trained in special attack and speed, because otherwise I'd bring him to this Elite Four and never end up using him. Second is Overkill the Charizard, the most powerful Pokemon I have, and really the only reason I have a chance of winning this. Third is 30 the Tauros, another strong member of the team who also gives me access to Intimidate. Fourth is Tears the Butterfree, who fills an important support role, helping the team with sleep powders. Fifth is Gringy the Muck, who thanks to Leftovers, Toxic and Protect is my go-to wall whenever I can't overpower something. And then last but possibly least, we've got Training the Primeape, who I'm hoping will give us some extra coverage and attack power. We've got our team assembled, and I've decided to introduce a last-minute rule change. I've decided that instead of my level cap being based on Lance's Ace Dragonite, which would give me a level cap of 60, I'm instead going to base my level cap on whoever I'm fighting at the time. This should mean I can't just sweep through this Elite Four thanks to a level advantage. Let's go see if me and my Pokemon have what it takes then. Remember to leave a like to wish me luck. Let's go end this. So first up for this Elite Four is Lorelei, who starts with Dewgong, and I start with OP. Despite OP's EV training, he's still unable to one-shot the Fat Seal and has to take an Ice Beam that would have ended this run had it crit. Thankfully it didn't, so a second Thunderbolt is able to pick up our first KO. Second is Cloyster, a Pokemon shockingly OP can actually one-shot, so a single Thunderbolt KOs Lorelei's second Pokemon. Third is Slowbro, who's ridiculously tanky, so I decide my best option is Toxic Stalling. I switch in to Gringy on a weak Surf, and then it's a case of getting off a Toxic and then slowly stalling out the Slowbro. Fourth for Lorelei is Lapras, who's also really tanky, so guess what? Once again, we're Toxic Stalling. This does take a while, and Gringy is starting to feel all of these attacks, but eventually Lapras goes down. All that's left for Lorelei then is Jinx, so I switch into Overkill. Holy shit, that gave me a heart attack. I knew that hit was going to be neutral, but Jesus. At least Overkill survived and then is able to KO the stupid racist Jinx with a flamethrower. Pretty easy fight other than that mild heart attack. 1 down, 3 more to go. Second for this Elite Four is Bruno, and unsurprisingly I'm not scared of the man that has brought 2 Onyx to this Elite Four. So Bruno starts with Onyx and I start with 30. A single Surf is enough for an easy one-shot. Second is Hitmonchan, who really can't touch Gringy, so I switch him in on a Rock Tomb. I'm able to then land a Toxic. Because I want Tears in when the Machamp comes out, before the Hitmonchan falls, I switch my Butterfly in on a Sky Uppercut. Thanks to a full restore, Tears does have to put the Hitmonlee to sleep and then finish it off with Aerial Aces, but that all worked out. Then Bruno's scariest Pokemon comes out, Machamp. Thankfully, Tears outspeeds, meaning he's able to put the monster to sleep with a Sleep Powder. I can then switch into Gringy as the Machamp naps. Annoyingly, I'm only able to get off 1 Sludge Bomb because on the next turn, the AI hard switches. The Gen 3 AI seems to rarely do that. Interesting. It's not a problem though because the AI only switched into Onyx, who 30 can one-shot with a Surf. Next, the Bruno is Hitmonlee, who Overkill can easily KO with a Fly. Then the Machamp comes back out, but with Overkill out, I decide to take a risk and try and land a Fly, and my risk pays off because the Machamp falls, meaning we're halfway through this Elite Four. Up next is Agatha, and this fight could be annoying because I don't really have any hard counters for her Gengars. So Agatha starts with her first Gengar, and I start with Gringy. Gringy is able to, at the very least, resist the Gengar's attacks, and thanks to Shockwave, doesn't have to worry about double teams. This means it takes a very, very long time, but eventually Gengar goes down. Second is Haunter, and I can't risk Gringy being locked into a Dream Eater here, so I switch into Tears. On the switch, Tears gets lucky and avoids a Hypnosis, and I'm expecting him to outspeed and land a Sleep Powder, but unfortunately, Haunter has his own ideas and lands a Hypnosis before Tears can react. Well, that's annoying. At least I know Haunter will probably go for Dream Eater on the following turn, so I'm pretty safe to switch into Overkill. Thanks to a lucky burn, a single Flamethrower is enough to KO, and the Haunter only goes for a mean look, meaning Overkill doesn't even have to take a single hit. Perfect. Third for Agatha is her Golbat, who really can't touch Overkill, so it goes down to 2 more Flamethrowers. Fourth is Arbok, who is only able to get off the Screech before 2 more Flamethrowers allow me to pick up another easy KO. That just leaves Agatha's last Gengar, and I'm hoping to get rid of this thing quickly with Flamethrowers, but annoyingly Overkill is put to sleep before I can land an attack. I decide to switch into 30, but once again, before I can do anything, another one of my Pokemon is put to sleep. Right, this is getting annoying. Maybe Gringy will have better luck. Well, Gringy does have to get put to sleep a couple of times, but he's able to wake up pretty quickly, meaning he's able to land Shockwave after Shockwave until the Gengar falls. Right, that fight wasn't overly hard, but it was fairly annoying. That just leaves one more member of this Elite Four to deal with, Lance and his Dragons. Lance's Dragons could very easily cause me a lot of issues here, as they're all super strong and I don't have any counters at all. We've made it this far though, I'm sure we've got this. So Lance starts with Gyarados and I start with OP. Thanks to its 4x weakness, Gyarados can't stand up to my Electric Mouse and goes down to a single Thunderbolt. Second is Dragonair, so I switch into 30. Thanks to Intimidate, the Hyper Beam 30 takes on the switch does next to nothing. 2 returns are then enough for another easy KO. Third for Lance is his second Dragonair, who manages to get off an annoying Thunder Wave before being taken down by returns. Fourth is the ever scary Dragonite. Dragonite's pretty intimidating, so I decide to try and get off an Intimidate before anything else. So I switch into Gringy on a hard Outrage, and then switch back into 30 to get off an attack drop. Outrage still does a huge amount of damage though, probably because I forgot Dragon was special type in this game. Oops. Despite that mistake, I'm still in a fairly good spot, so I switch back into Gringy. Gringy isn't able to KO the Dragonite with Sludge Bombs before being brought low enough to where I'm going to have to switch again, but he's still able to get off good damage. Overkill is really my only remaining answer for this dragon at this point, so I hope and pray as I send my Fire Lizard in. Thankfully, an Outrage on the switch does less than half, meaning unless I get crit here, I should be fine. So I go through a Fly, and it connects, doing just enough damage to finish off Lance's ace. Thank God that thing's gone. Do have one more problem to deal with though, Lance's last Pokemon, Aerodactyl. Aerodactyl is super fast and hits like a truck, and I've kind of got the issue that all of my Pokemon that are still on full HP really can't handle this thing. That means I'm going to have to make a number of really risky plays here, but if we can pull it off, I might just be able to get through this fight deathless. So I decide to start by trying to get off an Intimidate, so I send in 30. Thankfully 30 just survives after taking an Ancient Power, but we're still not out of the woods just yet. I now have to switch into Training, who I'm hoping will bait a Wing Attack. Of course, this could go very wrong if Training dies here, but it's worth the risk, and Training takes a Hyper Beam like a champ. Hyper Beam is actually perfect because it means Training can get off a Cross Chop that does really good damage while Aerodactyl recharges. I can then send in OP on a resisted Wing Attack and then finish off Lance's last Pokemon with a Thunderbolt. Real anime moment at the end there with OP and the rest of the team working together to get us the win. That just leaves one final challenge between us and victory then, the one trainer that's KO'd one of my Pokemon this run, our rival, Gary. This champion is never easy, but with our full full team still alive, I'm confident we've got this. So Gary starts with Pidgeot, and I start with OP. Unfortunately, OP can't quite get the KO with a single Thunderbolt and has to take a hard Aerial Ace. Even worse, before I can finish off the overgrown Pigeon, the AI hard switches into Rhyhorn. Thankfully, 30 is the perfect Pokemon to handle this beast, so I send him in, take a Rock Tomb and an Earthquake before KOing with 2 Surfs. Arrival then decides to send Pidgeot back out, so I stay in and take another hard Aerial Ace, and then finish off the bird with another Surf. Next is Alakazam, possibly the scariest Pokemon of this Elite Four. I should probably let 30 go down here so I can get a 3 switch, but 30 has been super consistent since he joined the team, so instead I decide to take a risk and switch into Overkill. Alakazam just sets up a Future Sight on the switch, which is a future me problem. Overkill then has to take a massive Psychic before landing a really strong Fly. For some reason the Future Sight then goes off but fails. Not sure why it failed there, but not gonna complain. Overkill should be healthy enough here to take another Psychic. It's a bit of the risk because a high roll or crit could mean the end, but Overkill pulls through like always and finishes off the Alakazam with the second Fly. Next on my rival is his ace Blastoise. I want to put this monster to sleep, so I switch into Tears on a really hard Hydro Pump. Then misjudge just how fast this thing is because I'm expecting Tears to outspeed, but unfortunately he can't, meaning he takes another Hydro Pump and goes down. Rest in peace Tears, you were the glue that held this team together. I'm now in a really awkward spot and I make a pretty big misplay by sending in OP. Now, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not sure what I was expecting by sending in OP here, but I never get a chance to find out because OP then takes the Future Sight. Holy shit, that was scary. Very nearly lost this run. Let's just thank OP for his moral support and send in someone else. Thankfully, I still have Gringy, who is healthy, so I'm hoping he can take down the ace. Despite Hydro Pump still doing a lot, Gringy is able to stall out the ace with Protect, meaning eventually Toxic takes it down. Almost through this fight then, but up next is Executor. I only have one Pokemon that can really handle this stupid thing, and that's Overkill. Obviously Overkill can't take any more hits, and that means the bell chimes for training, so I switch training in, who goes down to a couple of Egg Bombs. Rest in peace training, you didn't do that much other than be a sacrifice, but I suppose that's fitting for a Pokemon Ash completely forgot about. With training down, Overkill can come in and KO with a Flamethrower. My rival is down to his last Pokemon, Arcanine. My team is really beat up at this point though, and I really don't have a clear answer for this thing. I'm hoping Gringy can maybe stall it out, so I switch him in and take a weak Extreme Speed. Gringy is able to put up a good fight, but thanks to 2 Thaw Restores, he can't quite get the KO on the Fire Pup and ultimately does Thaw. Rest in peace Gringy, you were the sleeper hit of this run. You came in late and I had low expectations, but you really pulled your weight. At the very least, I can now send in 30, who can finish off the Arcanine with a single Earthquake. You've got to be kidding me. Arcanine still does go down to poison, but 30 was so close to making it through this run. Rest in peace, bud. With that, we've managed to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke using Ash's Pokemon. That was honestly a really fun run. If you want me to carry on this idea into future generations, let me know in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.